I'm using the Marabou whip finisher, but I'm using the long one here, so I have the reach and able to reach back here without catching my tube. So form your figure 4 with your Marabou, up and over. 5 ought to do it. Set your knot. Now here's a little advice with scissors. When you're cutting threads, try and get them as close as you can to the body, and the best way to do that is just open your scissors a very slight amount, slide it up the thread, pull the thread tight, simply push the scissors through the thread, and you'll find that it'll actually retract it up into the whip finish and you don't have any tag ends hanging out. Alright, so we're where we want to be now. And I'm going to add the cone to that. And to add the cone, I like to put a little bit of gap filling super glue. This is a Flash medium viscosity super glue, and what I'll do is I'll put a fairly decent sized drop right on my thread wraps, about the size of a BB. And what this will do is help in securing the cone into place, and then I'm going to burn that liner tube to shape to seal this all. So push hard, hold it for a few seconds, take the pressure off. No, not quite. Watch your fingers though, you will glue them to the fly if you put too much on. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to trim this liner tube to length, and I want to trim it so it's about 2 millimeters, so I'm going to trim it quite close. Right about there is where my trim is going to be, and again I do that with just a Stanley safety type razor. These are very inexpensive, you can get them at any sporting or hardware store, and they're just a little clip that holds a single-sided safety razor. Drop it in and lock it in place. Very safe to use. So slide my tube off. Now what I'm going to do is, you won't see this on camera, but I'm going to go onto my desktop here, and my cut is going to be as perpendicular as I can, so I get a nice even head when I finish this fly, and a nice even curl back on the lip here. So again, about 2 millimeters, and you should be able to see that in length. And now what I like to do is I've got a piece of very small drill rod or pin. You can use your Eumer tube fly tool. Push that big hat needle through, and I come up just to here, and I draw it back down inside ever so slightly. And the reason I put that in there because I'm going to use a lighter now to roll this lip back. Now what's important with this is make sure you don't get near the hair. Of course it's very flammable, but when you use your lighter, make sure that you use the blue part of the flame. So turn your lighter sideways, use the blue part of the flame, and apply it in stages. Now don't try and get it all down there at once. Don't try and add all that heat at once, because you will burn it and you will ignite the plastic if you try and get too much heat. So just tap it. Alright, it's rolled back to the cone head now, and all I do is simply push up my rod. You'll see it there, and that keeps that tube from sealing and preventing you from putting your leader in there a little bit later. Alright, so that's cooled off. We'll just draw that pin out. Back in the vise. And this is the part everybody dreads. Trimming a muddler head. Well, it's not that difficult. You just have to take a little bit of time initially, and it will turn out very, very well for you. Now, what I'm going to do here is explain to you why I had the longer hair here. As you can see, I'm going to start parting it with my scissors. And I'm just differentiating between the tapered ends that form the collar on the fly and the hair that I want to trim off. And that's why I tied it in the way I did. Longer, and with the hair, sorry, talk and chew gum at the same time, trying to save those tapered tips for the collar of the fly. So now I'm just simply getting the vast majority of this hair out of the way, because I want to show you a really neat trick. Now you'll find that deer hair sticks to everything when it's cut. It's a little tiny barb, so just flick the fly with your finger and off it comes. So this is the really slick part. I have never found a better way to trim deer hair than with the old double-edged safety razors. I think Gillette made them. They come in a pack of 5. They're about the sharpest thing that you can cut with. Extremely thin. You can still find them in the drugstores. They're about $12 for 5 of them, but there's nothing that cuts like them for deer hair. So be very, very careful. All I'm going to do is follow the Conehead, and I want to trim up. So all I do is simply tip my razor and start pushing, and a bit of a sawing action. And what you're going to find is that deer hair comes off just so slick. You're not shearing it with scissors, you're cutting it like you would a razor on your beard. It just simply touches that hair and it's cut. Now when I get close, I should back up here a bit, you're going to get a lot of hair on your razor blade, as you can see there. Again, just flick your razor blade, clean it off, and move back in. Don't get too close to that collar, you could start cutting it off. So when I get comfortably close, I'm just going to stop with the razor and I'll go in with the scissors and trim up the last of the remaining hairs that I'm not comfortable with on the fly. There you go. Deer hair everywhere. Okay, now I go in with my Irish scissors and I simply pull off the long ones here up against the collar, which is these hairs here with the taperized ends, the natural end of the hair, and all I'm doing is cleaning that up. And there we have it. Tied with the Eumer plastic tubes, a beautiful gold-bodied muddler. And the beauty of this fly, no other fly, or I shouldn't say no other fly, but very few other flies have, is a combination of everything in it. You've got the weight of the Conehead, you've got this very large clipped deer hair head, and this rather spiky collar. And what that will do is when the water hits that, it acts like an airplane wing and it actually goes over the top of the fly, creates a lot of turbulence. You'll get an incredible amount of action on this wing. If I blow on it here, gives you a rough idea what it'll do in the water. It's a very popular pattern, great pattern to fish. You'll enjoy it. I tied another one up here just to show you the difference of a plastic tube to a metal tube, and this one is the Eumer teardrop tube, and it is a preformed tapered brass body. And again, same tying technique, no tail. You could put a tail on it if you wanted to by tying on top of the junction tube, but much heavier fly, it'll get down much deeper, and it's a great fly to fish. Enjoy it, have fun.